Good evening, people. Welcome back to the channel. Liverpool have a big 14 days ahead of them. And as you can see on the screen, it's clear to see why. So, as we all know, after international break is not the easiest time to get back into your groove, but you have to get on with it as it's the same for every club. And yeah, so the first trip after international break is Liverpool away to Southampton. For me, it's top versus bottom, but as I've said in previous shows, I think Southampton are improving slowly. I think the performances in the last 2 weeks, the defeat against Man City, where they lost by only 1-0, they were quite unlucky in that game, had the opportunities, just failed to take them. And then eventually they got the first win of the season against Everton. They were quite fortunate to win that, but their performance was actually still quite good. So yeah, I think it's going to be a tricky game for Liverpool. Luckily enough, there hasn't been any injuries encountered on the international break. I expect McAllister to be on the bench for this one as he's on 4 yellow cards. So, as you can see, the next fixture in the Premier League is at home to City, so they wouldn't want him to be suspended for that. And in addition to that, he was part of the South American crew that won international duty last night. Yeah, I think Trent and Jota are the only two players that probably won't make it for this game. Ellison is back in training. Harvey Elliott is back in training. I'm not sure if Elliott is in full-time training, but he's back on the grass at least. So we should have a decent complement of players available for the fixture. And I think I don't expect a 3-0, 4-0 kind of game. Hopefully, we can take the lead, control the game, and then add another one in the second half and just save our legs for the next two games. So yeah, after Southampton, we all have a Champions League against our arch nemesis Real Madrid, who have had the better of us on the last probably 3 occasions, 2 cup finals, and also the one either round of 16 or quarterfinal where they beat us. So yeah, obviously group stage Madrid and end of Champions League Madrid is two different things. So I'm hoping that the home advantage can make the difference for us on this occasion. They also have a lot of injuries coming into this one. Yeah. So in terms of Liverpool, it will be very interesting to see how they manage the squad, how they manage the rotation. Slot hasn't tend to manage the actually, sorry, he hasn't rotated that much during the season, maybe one or two now and then. In terms of the calling cup, he changed the full team. But Premier League and Champions League, it was basically you could pick the starting 11 with the addition of minus one or two players. And yeah, so after Southampton, we have Madrid, big game. Then we have City. And if you actually look at the run of games, City at home, Newcastle, and Everton away, you would actually say that Madrid is actually the least important game in terms of result. Obviously, in terms of performance, you want a good performance to take into the City game, but in terms of result, because we won the first 4 fixtures of the Champions League, I don't think the result is that crucial in that one. So I wouldn't be surprised if Slot maybe makes one or two changes for that with the Man City game on the weekend. And yeah, going into that City game, absolutely massive game. I think it's opportunity for Liverpool where you have to win this game and take the 3 points. You know, you can't. I think there's been a few seasons where we've failed to capitalize on getting the full complement of points against City at home. Usually, this game ends in a draw, whether it be at Etihad or at Anfield. City haven't won at Anfield in something like over 18 years, if I'm not mistaken. They had the one victory during the COVID season, but in and around, after and before that, they haven't won in a long time. So yeah, I think it's time that we have to lay a glove on them in the title race. I do expect City to go into this game having beaten Spurs in their previous game. Even though they don't have a good record against Spurs, I think they will get the result this week, the weekend coming now. And yeah, I think it's going to be a good game between Liverpool and City. It's probably going to be tight, but I think Liverpool will get this one in the end. I think they control. I think the ability to hit on the break will cause a lot of problems for City, and I think they'll edge that one. So yeah, we can see after that. So in the space of 7 days, Liverpool have Newcastle away and Everton away. We saw already Newcastle earlier the season draw with City at home. Unfortunately, not to win that game. And then they also beat Arsenal 1-0 thanks to that Isak header. So that's not going to be an easy game. It's also Wednesday evening, which will be the first midweek round of Premier League games. And yeah, and then after that, unfortunately, we have an early kickoff once again. And it's a special occasion because not only is it the Merseyside derby, but it's also the last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park. So we know that they are going to be up for that one. They beat us last year at their ground towards the end of the season, and they'll be looking to do the same again. So yeah, all in all, it's a really massive 14 days for the club. We can't look. We have to take one game at a time. Make sure we get the 3 points against Southampton, and then take it from there. But I do envisage in this period, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the next 5 games. I do see us picking up 4 wins, and I think one of the Newcastle or Everton games will be a draw. Hopefully, um, we can turn the draw into a win, but we'll see how it goes. I do think this is the time of the season where rivals such as City, such as Arsenal, or even Chelsea, for those who want to include them, will look at our run of games and potentially either this will be the period where Liverpool drop points. So it's up to us to deflate their hopes by just keep the wins ticking along. Yeah, so that's about it. It's a big 14 days ahead. I'm glad the Premier League is back after a 2 week break. And the next 2 weeks, I wouldn't say is a season defining period for Liverpool, but it can be a period where you further your gap at the top and give you some breathing space for later in the season, which will be important because Liverpool actually do have quite a difficult, I would say, into the Premier League campaign, especially if they go to the latter rounds of the Champions League, if they're involved in the FA Cup. So if you look at like towards the end of April, they host Spurs, they away to Chelsea, they host Arsenal. Those 3 games are all off each other, by the way. Then they go away to Brighton. We've seen Brighton the season so far. We don't know what they'll be at the end of the season, but it is Brighton's last home game of the season. And we know teams are always pumped up for their last home game of the season. And then, as usual, another final day with Crystal Palace. So this is the time between now and probably January as well to get as much of a buffer as possible. And it's important also the timing of the game. So if you look at Southampton is a late game, not a bad fixture to play after Arsenal and City because you know what you need to do. The City game will be the last game, so you also already know what you have to do. You know what Arsenal would have done in that weekend. And then Newcastle waits the same time as Arsenal play United, so it's a chance to put pressure on them. You know the results of the games always filter through to the stadium. So if you're leading away Newcastle and Arsenal go behind in their game, it can add to the tension, it can add to the pressure. And Arsenal already have a little room for a little margin for error, should I say. And the same with Man City. Even though the Everton game is not at the ideal time, it does give you a chance to put the pressure on Arsenal and City for that weekend. So, and as I said, they would be looking at those 2 fixtures as a potential opportunity for Liverpool to drop points. So if you don't drop points, it just adds to the pressure, knowing that they have to win just to stay the same amount of points behind you. So yeah, a big opportunity ahead. Thank you for joining me. Let me know what you think, how many games you think Liverpool will win in the next 5 fixtures. And yeah, enjoy the return of the Premier League, and we'll see you probably tomorrow for a fantasy Premier League preview. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day. Oh yeah, sorry. One more thing, just quickly. Even after the Everton game, even the Fulham game, if I can just extend the 5 games to 6 games, we saw Fulham when they did come to Anfield last year. It was that 4-3 game. So, and they are actually doing quite well this season. So even that game, it's not a given. So it's actually a very tough period. So, but yeah, um, that's it for now. And enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow.